I woke up early to catch my flight. Moving was going to be something new, I thought to myself. Something fresh. My roommate woke me up since he is a night owl.
Jacob, get up, you're gonna be late.
When I finally got up, I took a peek at the clock and it read 1:36 a.m. My flight left at 3 in the morning, so I figured that I needed to be at the airport by 2 a.m. to give me some leverage of being able to get to my plane on time and maybe even finish up an article or two. Mark, my roommate, poured me some cereal while I got dressed. He ate the cereal and got in the car where he was waiting to drive me to the airport.
Jacob, are you sure this is the best thing for you?
Mark asked me. If it wasn't, don't you think it is a little too late now? I replied. We pulled off the highway to a place for him to drop me off by the Blue Jet airline station. I got out and thanked him for the ride and told him to hold down the fort, and that I would be back soon to let him know how good or bad the potential condo we were considering purchasing was. A tall man offered to take my backpack, which was my only luggage, but I declined, seeing as it was small enough to be considered a carry-on. I walked into the airport to check the status of my flight. On time. Thank God, I thought. I went through security and through a small side door and went to sit by my terminal. And people started complaining about why I was the only one allowed through that door. The only thing that was on my mind at this time was getting an Annie Ann's pretzel, since the smell was lingering in the air for much too long. I got back and went through my things in my bag to check one last time. Change of clothes? Check. iPhone? Check. Wallet? Check. Emergency money? Check. Small box? Check. Computer? Check. All set, I thought to myself as I sat down in the terminal. 2:30 came, and we started boarding the plane. As I was walking down the terminal to get on the plane, I noticed a group of 8 men walking nervously and standing really close to each other. I walked up to my seat, which was in the near back of the plane. I sat down and got ready for the pilot to announce that we would be taking off shortly. I opened up my MacBook to start up a movie that I had at the ready. Hunger Games, the original movie. I then heard the captain say that we were 35,000 feet and that we were free to use all approved electronic devices. One of the men that was walking down the terminal was nervously agitated and getting worse by the minute. He got up and started walking towards the bathroom. I got a good look at of his face, a scar running straight down his left eye. 2 of the 8 men started ruffling through a backpack. We were about 2 hours into the flight, so we still had about 3.5 hours to go. I somewhat rubbed off the fact that these men were looking more suspicious by the minute. The kind gentleman sitting next to me was a captain of the United States Marine Corps. I started talking with him, and we explained what we do for a living, and he was telling me about his experience in the war. We were only 1 hour from the runway. I got up to go to the bathroom when I realized that the men from before still wasn't out yet. He started yelling to get away, so I was kind of startled. I went up to the first class bathroom and explained my situation. They were kind enough to let me use theirs. I got back to my seat when I heard, "All right, nobody move." And I saw one of the men station himself in the aisle a couple seats ahead of us. I reached for my bag and started to unzip it. I looked at the captain, and his face was filled with fury. I knew that he was going to react. I explained to him how I could help, and he was thrilled with the idea. I opened my bag fully. Now when 2 of the men came back with guns and pointed them right in front of my face, straight at the army captain. He was dragged out into the aisle where he was beaten. They started yelling, "You served your country. Now you're going to face the consequences." He was shot in the stomach. 4 of the men walked up to the cockpit to meet the 2 that were keeping an eye on both of the pilots. People started screaming with terror. I reached in my bag and opened the small box. I pulled out my Desert Eagle and attached a silencer. I shot one of them. A lady screamed when his body hit the floor. This triggered the other man to come back. I grabbed his arm and pushed him to the floor where I was able to clean him out. 6 left. I quietly stated it to a flight attendant to keep everyone quiet and to attempt to treat the army captain as best as she could so he would stop bleeding out. We were 30 minutes from the runway. Men attacking the plane stated we were going to fly into the airport. Literally, fly into the airport. I quietly moved from the back of the plane to the wall, dividing the first class from coach seating. 3 brave men were willing to save everyone. They rushed towards the attackers, probably taking out 2 men before being shot several times. Bullets started flying and people started screaming and ducking their heads. It was now or never. 4 hijackers still were at large on the plane. I wrestled one of them to the ground, where a mother stepped on his face. The 3 men then threw a small device which bursted into the white smoke on the floor. I ran and the mother bravely ran to the man she was beating, and others moved in. 2 attackers remained. I shot one and started shooting at the other. My gun was out of ammo. I jumped for the other attacker and wrestled him. I held him down and pulled out my badge. I said, "United States Air Marshal, you are under arrest." I turned around and saw the suffering of all the people that were affected. One of the pilots was still alive, while the other must have caught a stray bullet in the fighting. I was still trained to land a plane. We landed safely and started calling for all emergency services. I picked up the captain and jumped off the side of the plane on the slide. An ambulance loaded him into a truck and he was rushed to the hospital. We realized what had just happened. After walking inside the airport and being greeted by media and 35 cop cars, we realized what had happened. We were the only plane that didn't crash during this horrible day, September 11th, 2001. If you like this video and want more just like it, subscribe and like.